Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the organization, especially Christian and Inia, for inviting me to do the talk. And I also would like to thank Rainer Lotz because he put me in the track of these musics and records and all of that when I was doing very different repertoires. Okay. This paper examines African Portuguese, Afro-Brazilian, and African-American music in Portugal between the first disc recordings for the gramophone company carried out in 1900 and the Estado Novo in 1933 through 3 songs. The first is a rasga, performed by César Nunes and recorded in Portugal and Brazil. The second is a Brazilian machixe, recorded by Os Geraldos. The last is a 1920s Portuguese foxtrot. They illustrate the transformation of sounds associated with the African diaspora in Portugal, where black communities lived and popular entertainment showed black characters and blackface performers. A black presence has been felt in Lisbon since the Renaissance. Black servants and peddlers populated the city's poorer districts like Madragoa. Toponymic plates like Rua do Poço dos Negros, Blackwell's Street, reflect a strong African presence in the capital of the Portuguese Empire. In the 19th century, the black communities in the city performed the rasga, a dance song based on the rhythmic pattern of the ganza, an instrument similar to the güiro. The popular theater included this genre in stage plays while music printers issued its transcriptions. At the end of the 19th century, the Brazilian actor, impersonator, and musician César Nunes traveled to Lisbon. He recorded the rasga for the Compagnie Française du Gramophone around 1904. Well, this is a subsidiary of the gramophone company that covered France and the Iberian Peninsula. The company issued it a few years later as Baile de Pretos, a black dance. The disc features a stringed instrument accompanying the voice, and the text consists of fala de pretos, black talk, a construction often used to represent blacks on stage, and also onomatopoeias. Nunes also imitates the sound of the ganza with his voice and uses call and response patterns. The German-based Becker and the local label Lusophone issued this recording, which suggests the tune's success. Well, I'll let you listen to the Brazilian version of it, which is slightly different. Nunes returned to Brazil, where he performed in theaters and was known as the human phonograph. He recorded the same piece for Casa Edison, the pioneering phonographic company of Rio de Janeiro, and Victor. It was then called Batuque de Pretos, Batuque Africano, or Imitação de Batuque Africano, Black Batuque, African Batuque, or imitation of an African batuque. This renaming removed the song from the Portuguese context. It made it identifiable to Brazilians since both sides of the Atlantic used batuque to name diverse cultural manifestations of Africans that involved music and dance. This move reflects the power of naming ascribed to whites during the Age of Empire. The Brazilian recordings bear similarities with the Portuguese. Despite using fewer onomatopoeias, they feature a strum string instrument, and Nunes imitates the ganza too.
O capitão da porta do rio ficou pasmado de ver o navio sentiu. Anda, gente, escangalha tudo. Ui, Terezinha do anjo, que eu vai morrer, menina. O preto com mais a preta. O preto com mais a preta. Foi abaixo de os bananeira. Foi abaixo de os bananeira. O preto que diz para a preta. O preto que diz para a preta. Vamos fazer brincadeira. João de madeira que mancareu e delicado cabicado caracarac. Como capita não acha um adesivo. Toma terra menina, anda, fuma charuto de pobre, rica Teresa.
Basically, the lyrics are in a kind of, well, even if they are in Portuguese, the parts that are in Portuguese are a kind of almost childish gibberish that infantilized black people. And basically the story is a black man inviting a black woman to play. And we all know what that means in 1907 in the recording industry. So it's pretty explicit for the time. Well, in the fin de siècle, the Brazilian machixe and the North American cakewalk made their way into Portugal. Performances, sheet music, sound recordings, and music rolls helped this dissemination. The musician and dancer Geraldo Magalhães and the singer Nina Teixeira formed the Brazilian duo Os Geraldos. They performed in Lisbon and Paris in the late 1900s and became known for their machiches. The Afro-Brazilian machixe entered the bourgeois salons in Rio de Janeiro in the 1870s. Its adaptation to other performance contexts glossed over the African association, a move that foregrounded the local racial divide. Its sanitized version spread in Europe and North America as another music of the African diaspora incorporated in the entertainment market. Portuguese stages became a gateway for the machixe since it was common to stage Brazilian operettas and revues in Portugal. The Brazilian composer Chiquinha Gonzaga worked in Lisbon and Porto between 1906 and 1909. Os Geraldos recorded the machixe Vem Cá Mulata by Bastos Tigre and Arquimedes de Oliveira and performed it in their shows in Portugal. Written in 1902, Vem Cá Mulata became a big success in Rio de Janeiro 1906 Carnival. Dedicated to the Clube dos Democráticos, a prominent carnival society. Then Brazilian carnival in Rio was a salon carnival or a dancehall carnival with several associations competing against each other. And the sheet music of Vem Cá Mulata designates the piece as a tango chula. Renaming the machixe as tango brasileiro, Brazilian tango, lundu, or polka tango, detached the genre from the licentiousness of the Afro-Brazilian dances and its roots. Vem Cá Mulata is a comic duet with call and response patterns between singers. In the recording for Casa Edison, the announcer proclaims Os Geraldos were performing it as if they were in Paris. The statement highlights their international success while showing the role Paris played as the world capital of entertainment. However, some Brazilians felt that black or mixed race bodies should not represent the country in cosmopolitan entertainment, an argument that reveals the tensions between race and the representation of Brazilian culture abroad. After a rhythmically free introduction, Vem Cá Mulata enters the syncopated pattern of the machixe. Spoken dialogue intersperses the sung parts to enhance its cheeky lyrics and intensify the comic effect.
O popular Vem Cá Mulata, cantado pelo Joao para Casete, como se estivesse em Paris. Lá canta o galo. Vem cá.
Eu não vou cacete.
Ó, benzinho. Vem cá.
Eu não vou.
Vem cá, mulata.
Não vou lá não.
Vem cá, mulata.
Não vou lá não. Sou democrata, sou democrata, sou democrata do coração.
Vem cá, mulata.
Não vou lá não.
Vem cá, mulata.
Não vou lá não. Sou democrata, sou democrata, sou democrata do coração.
Vamos sempre alegria e batalhamos pela unia. Não respiramos, não sai mal e arrebentamos no carnaval. Ao povo damos sempre alegria e batalhamos pela unia. Não respiramos, não sai mal e arrebentamos no carnaval. Vem cá, mulata!
Não vou lá não.
Vem cá, mulata!
Não vou lá não. A gente mexe e se mexe até chegar no chão. Ai, como tá bom, hein?
Ô, Cianinha, quebra minha negra!
Ah, meu Deus, é bom, hein?
Olha vocês como estão gostando, hein? Aí, lá no...
Here it's basically the man is inviting the woman, a mulata, so a mixed race woman, to follow him to the carnival, and she says she won't because she's part of the Clube dos Democráticos and she won't betray the club for anything. European entertainment relied on black American repertoires in the 20th century. However, this trend was unimaginable before the interwar period, with the dance craze and the profound impact of hot jazz. Portuguese venues staged blackface minstrelsy and a cakewalk between the 1880s and the 1910s. Before transatlantic steamers and radio, the contact between European audiences and American popular culture was scarce. Distance facilitated the spreading of fabricated representations of black culture in Europe by white performers. The British blackface artist G.H. Sherwin, known as the White-Eyed Kaffir, performed in Portugal in 1880. In the early 20th century, black variety artists performed the cakewalk, and the Portuguese phonographic companies issued records containing the genre, like the cancioneta O Cakewalk by the Portuguese Nicolau Tolentino Leroy. After the Great War, Lisbon became a city of jazz bands and nightclubs. New sociability routines built around modernist clubs thrived in Lisbon and Porto and radiated to other places. These spaces embodied the cosmopolitan sophistication of the post-war happy modernism, dancing to the syncopated rhythms of early jazz. The newly established jazz bands that proliferated across Portugal introduced novel genres of American music after the Great War, altering the country's soundscape. Through local and foreign performers, urban everyday life integrated the new American sounds like the foxtrot, the one-step, and the shimmy, as staples of modernity and sophistication. The modernist writer António Ferro, who would become a fundamental piece in the cultural policy of the Estado Novo, argued that the jazz band, like a screen, is where all images of modern life fit in, and is the clock that best tells you the time of today, the hours spent dancing, the nervous foxtrotted hours. A new generation of Portuguese composers transformed local popular entertainment in the 1910s. They renovated Portugal music theatre and helped to create and establish the fado canção, a local song genre that alternates verse and chorus that dominated the Portuguese stage for decades. One of the most important performers of fado canção is Amália Rodrigues, for instance. Moreover, these composers integrated new American music such as tangos, one-steps, and foxtrots into their musicals, crafting hybrid genres that mixed local and imported features, like the fado fox. Cruz e Souza was an officer in the Portuguese army, reaching the post of colonel, who wrote many popular music hits and became a pioneer of the new dancing genres in Portugal. He penned charlestons, probably cakewalks, foxtrots, one-steps, black bottoms, and tangos. Companies issued his foxtrot Arlequim as sheet music, music roll, and sound recording. The Portuguese singer and composer Miguel de Almeida recorded 2 foxtrots and 2 fados by Cruz e Souza in Brazil. The discs feature a choir, the Orfeão Académico de Lisboa, and the composer at the piano. These performers toured Brazil as part of a cultural embassy in 1925. Issued by Odeon, the label states that they were especially made for Fred Figner's Casa Edison, like many similar recordings of the time. The song begins with Cruz e Souza introducing the syncopated melody of the chorus at the piano. Miguel de Almeida performs the verse, an undulating melody with a flowing rhythm, close to the Portuguese fado in the Coimbra tradition, with an almost operatic delivery and sustained high notes. The chorus has an increasingly syncopated rhythm as the choir reinforces the repetition of the section. I have mapped the spread of music of the African diaspora in Portugal in the early 20th century. Portugal contacted with heterogeneous music through stage shows, sheet music, music rolls, and sound recordings. These repertoires reflected changing perspectives of blackness. Recordings of Portuguese rasgas, Brazilian machiches, and North American foxtrots carved these differences into sound. Phonographic cultures, as auditory processes, played a fundamental role in the sonification of race that involved Portuguese and foreign musicians in the first decades of the 20th century. Thank you.